Let's take a look at this layout. The cue ball is pretty much center table. Here's the 1 ball, the 1 to the 2, 2 to the 3, 3 to the 4, 4 to the 5, 5 to the 6, 6 to the 7, 7 to the 8, and 8 to the 9. Take a minute if you want. You can pause it here and study that and figure out what you want to do and where the pattern is on all 9 balls. I'll be right back. In 7th and 8th grade, I had this history teacher named Mr. Halstead. And he had this big world map on his wall. And he had this custom-made leather pointer stick thing with his name embossed on the handle. Yeah, it looked like a whip. And this is how he tested students. He would call out the name of one of the young folks in the classroom. And he'd walk up to his desk and he would hand you the pointer. And then he would call out a country. Anywhere in the world, a country anywhere. And the student had 5 seconds to find and point out the country with his whip. And so, with his favorite students, he would call out a country like Canada. And Brenda, whose mom made him carrot cake yesterday morning for lunch, would, of course, find Canada. And then he'd call out Tommy's name. Tommy would go up. And Tommy, who stayed after school 2 days ago and cleaned the chalkboard and helped mop the floor, would be all ready with his pointer. And good old Mr. Halstead would call out the country, like the United States of America. And Tommy would point out the United States of America. Now, mind you, the kids are being graded on this, okay? And then he would call Mr. Disque, not John, Mr. Disque. Yep. So, little cigarette smoking Mr. Disque would walk up and grab the pointer off Mr. Halstead, and Mr. Halstead would call out a country like Ukraine. And you'd be like, what? There ain't no damn Ukraine. Ukraine doesn't exist. And when your 5 seconds was up and you couldn't find Ukraine, he would literally say this. He would not say, Mr. Disque, your time is up. He didn't have a little bell on his desk or any sound effects. He would say, boop. That's what he would say. Boop. Boop. Yeah, good old Mr. Halstead. Hey, a lot of issues come up in this rack that are vital to good players trying to get over the hump and trying to get great. So keep your ears on. We are literally straight in on this one ball in the corner pocket here. And we need to get back on this 2, and not just back on the 2, but on the right angle to get from the 2 to the 3. So the question is, what would you do to get on this 2 ball? Boop. No, I'm kidding. I will never do that to you again. I'm sorry. If you said you need to draw this back to this rail, you're absolutely correct. But, there's always a but. If you just draw this straight back with center bottom on this ball, you're coming off this rail and going straight at the 6 ball. So you're going to wind up hitting the 6 ball, and you really don't want to do that because it's probably going to bump the 6 ball right on this side of the 2, and you're not going to have a shot on the 2. You're going to have to play safe on the 2. And if you're in this to win, this is a runnable rack. It just has some issues that you really need to know in order to run it. So instead of just straight bottom on this, we need to put a little bit of right hand, actually a lot of right hand English on this, to spin the cue ball counterclockwise as it goes down to this 1 ball and comes back and hits this rail, and it's still going to have counterclockwise spin on it. It's going to hit this rail and send it down to the bottom rail. So it's going to widen this angle as soon as it hits this rail. Okay, and this way we avoid going into the 6 and screwing everything up. And from that point, you should have the right angle on the 2. Let's turn the volume down. So bottom right, and you're hitting this hard. And that gives us a great angle on this 2 to get back on this 3. But this is a little bit deceiving, and a lot of players shoot this way too hard. And because we're cutting the 2 ball pretty thin and going to this rail, there's nothing slowing this cue ball down, so you don't have to hit it hard at all. In fact, this is a very soft stroke on this, because nothing's slowing the cue ball down. And also that 2 ball is imparting, again, counterclockwise spin on this as if it had right hand English on it. We're not going to put any right on this. We're only putting top on this. So just straight top on this ball and let the 2 ball spin the cue ball. And there you go. So we're straight in. Well, we're not straight in. This is a right hand cut on this 3 ball, but we're straight enough in to draw this back, or at least that's what I thought. So I tried to draw it straight back to get the right angle on this 2 to bounce off this long rail here before the pocket and come back up the center table on the 5. That was my plan. But it didn't really hook up. And now we have a left-hand cut. We're cutting this to the left-hand side. I know it's hard to tell with this camera angle. But we are. So we're bouncing off the rail after the pocket and coming back down for a shot on this 5. In the side, at least that's what I would do. What would you do? And I'm not going to boop you here. I know there's other options here. Here's the one I chose to get on this 5 in order to get a decent shot on the 6 ball. Now, what we should have done was not screw up that draw shot on that 3 ball, and none of that would have happened, but here we are. So, and I know a lot of guys would shoot this hard in the side and bounce off this rail and come back on this side of the 6 ball. I'm choosing to shoot it very light and barely make this 5 ball into the side and just coming off this rail and coming up on this side of the 6 ball. Either way will work, but I don't like shooting balls hard in inside pockets, because if you barely skim that rail on the way in, you're liable to rattle that ball or just not make it at all. So usually when I'm shooting in the side, unless I absolutely have to shoot it hard, I won't do it. I'll shoot it soft if I can get on the next ball. Now, here's an issue that comes up, and I'm going to use a graphic to illustrate my point here. How would you get on this 7 ball? That's the question, and again, I'm not going to boop you. It's pretty much straight into this corner pocket, and I'm gonna put an arrow right about, if we just roll up maybe an inch or 2, inch and a half, 2 inches, right about to where my arrow is right now. Let's put an arrow there. I'm going to go ahead and shoot this ball the way I shoot it. I'm going to draw back off this route and bounce up to get a little bit closer to the 7 ball. And this is a common mistake that players make. Good players make this mistake all day long. So there we are, and there's where we get. So we got a foot closer to the 7 ball. It could have died off this rail. It could have kept going off this rail. We could have got behind the 8. It could have went hard off this rail, and we could have scratched. So we took all this risk, and we could have just eased it up there and got the same exact angle on this 7 ball without taking all that risk. So this is basically a stop shot here. All you're doing is stopping to get straight in on the 7 ball, although we don't get straight in on the 8, although we don't get exactly straight in. And here again, I'm going to illustrate a point. What would you do right here? It's a little bit of a left-hand cut into this corner pocket. And I'm sorry to say, but if you said put top on this and come down to the bottom rail, which is a common mistake players make in order to bounce off this rail and get closer to the 9 ball, or get a straight in shot on the 9 ball, it's not the right way to do it. If we just stun this ball in with a little bit of inside English, left-hand English, in order to kill the angle of the cue ball coming off this 8 ball, which would be, if we just shot it naturally with dead center English, it would come out to right about here. Now if you put top, and especially top left on this, you're going to come down to the bottom rail, and you're probably going to get straight in, but you're moving the cue ball too much. And the most common mistake good players make, and it gets them in trouble all day long, is they tend to move the cue. They're trying to do too much with the cue ball, and all you really have to do is kill the cue ball angle coming off the 8, make the 8, and settle for this shot right here on this 9 ball. Now it's not straight in, but you're still at the table. You didn't screw anything up, you didn't scratch, you didn't miss the 8 ball. And let's just take a little bit of a tougher cut. It's really not a hard shot. But let's take this shot over taking all that risk. Don't move the cue ball so much, especially when it's absolutely unnecessary. And yeah, it's nice to get straight in 5 inches from the object ball, but it's not worth the risk that you're taking to do that. Let's stop right there and run it from the top without commentary.